Welcome to the Tony Gaskin Show, best-selling author, celebrity life coach, and international speaker. The purpose of this show is to bring you motivation, inspiration, and education in the areas of life, love, and business. Thank you for joining me. Now let's get started. Hey, thank you for joining me. Tony Gaskins here, back with another Talks with Tony, answering some more questions. Remember, if you have questions, send them to inbox@tonygaskins.com. Now, this question is from a young man, and it says, just wondering your thoughts of the saying, what one person won't do, another will, especially when referring on a sexual level in a relationship. And now, to be, just straight up with it, that is true. What one person won't do, another person will. But that doesn't mean that it's the right thing. It doesn't mean that it's something that you should desire or something that you should worry about, or if it's something that should not be done. So if it's a certain sexual thing that my woman won't do with me, there may be another woman that will do it, but do I want that woman? And if it's something that my woman wouldn't do with me, then what does it say about that act? Is it immoral? Is it disrespectful? What is it? And is it necessary? So you have to think about that, and you got to ask yourself, if a woman asks a man to do something that's kind of far-fetched, kind of crazy, like, hey, drive from Florida to California and buy me this car and drive it back, and you don't feel that's necessary, you rather buy it online, put it on the truck bed and have it driven across the country, but she demands that you do it yourself because she doesn't trust the truck. Well, yeah, somebody else will do that, but you have to ask yourself, do you care? And if she will force you on that issue, then would you rather be like, hey, good riddance? So there's always somebody that will do something that your partner won't do. But do you want everything that comes with that person that will do what your partner won't do? And then there's always somebody that will do what you won't do. But if your partner is asking you to do something that you're not comfortable doing, are you with the right person? So we've always heard that, and, it's always kind of been used as a threat. And in some cases, it kind of has some validity. So, some women will say, well, what you won't do, another man will. And what they really mean is, a lot of times they're talking about spend quality time, or some women talking about spend money. And, you have to just ask yourself, what does that mean? And am I with the right person? How important is that in a relationship? And is that my main goal? Is that what I want most from a relationship? I don't want my wife to do anything that she's not comfortable doing in any area of the relationship, emotional, spiritual, physical, in any area. I love her for who she is and the way she is. And I realize that the people who are different, who will do things that she would not do in any area, spiritual, physical, emotional, that is a whole different makeup of a woman. So it may come with a whole lot more drama or trouble you have to deal with. So think on that. I don't really feel like that's a good thing for us to say in our relationships, although it has been used over and over. Another question. Hi, Mr. Gaskins. I really need your advice. I've been struggling with a situation for a year now. I was married to a man for 9 years. He had an issue with my son's behavior and didn't want him in the house. My son was 17 at the time and in school. He got sent away. My husband told me that he couldn't come back to our house, so I moved into an apartment. During this time, he went behind my back and got a divorce. I was really hurt. After a while, we got back together as girlfriend and boyfriend, and things are not the same. Was I a fool for this, and should I stay? I am not happy, but I don't know how to tell him that I'm not in love with him. Please help. Well, you kind of answered your own question. If you're not in love, then you need to leave. It's no sense in being in a relationship if you are not in love with a person. So you have to realize that if you can't love them with all of you, then you don't need to waste your time, because you could be with someone who you can really build with. You can be with someone who loves you and you love them too, and you have a real relationship. If you're wasting time trying to make it work with somebody just out of convenience or familiarity, you'll end up getting hurt. Because if you go back to a man who would allow you to leave in the first place just because you love and care for your son, who is a kid, basically still a teenager, and the man won't understand that your son is a teenager and that that teenager needs a good a good male role model in the home. And instead of him loving you enough to want to be an example for your son and put his foot down and show your son how to be a man, instead he gives you an ultimatum and says, choose me or choose your son, who you carried for 9, 10 months and brought into the world and have raised all his life. Then that man that you're with is immature, ignorant, selfish, jealous, and not the man for you. And so if a man's going to be with you, he has to love you and everything that comes with you. So if you have a bad child, he has to love that bad child like it's his own bad child, and he has to be willing to try to help that child become a good child. So understand that and know that you chose the wrong man. And so in moving forward, what you need to do is talk through those scenarios and make sure the answer you're getting back from the man you actually believe. So you have to talk through with a potential partner on that fifth, sixth date. You got to say, well, hey, what if my son gets caught, and gets arrested for a crime and goes to jail and then comes out of jail and he needs somewhere to stay? Would you be okay with him staying with us until he gets on his feet? We give him a deadline, a time. We help him fill out the application, get his resume together, help him get a job, get on his feet. Would you be okay with that? And see what he says. He may say, yes, I'll be okay with that. He may be lying, so you got to ask more questions. But you need to get a feeling and know that you believe what he's saying, just in case something like this were to arise. Instead of just thinking about yourself and worrying about the love at hand and the relationship at hand and just going full steam ahead without really counting the costs and talking through it, you end up shooting yourself in the foot, hurting yourself, hurting your son, hurting the man, because y'all didn't think through everything that could possibly arise. So that is something that you have to keep in mind with blended families. And I hear this a lot, with blended families, it's a lot of issues you got to go through. And naturally, as human beings, we are kind of territorial. We're kind of controlling. But that's a trait that we have to overcome. We have to realize that in a relationship, our partner should feel free, not like in captivity. And when I say free, I don't mean free to go and sleep with someone else, be with someone else, or I'm not saying have an open relationship. What I mean is that they should feel free to be who they are, to be themselves, to feel loved, and not feel like a prisoner in a prison of love, which really wouldn't be love. But you don't want to shut a person down. You want them to feel confident. My wife, she's the team mom on my son's team, and the coach, I don't know if he's single or married or anything. And so as a team mom, she got to talk to the coach. She got to talk to the coach. Now, as a man, I can think about it and say, one side of me could be controlling and be like, no, you can't be the team mom because you don't need to be talking to this man, for extended periods of time, and y'all don't need to be standing and chit-chatting and going back and forth and him texting you and you texting him. But then at the same time, I have to think about it from the other side where I am today and say, hey, I trust my wife. She's working with my son's team. I trust her, and I know that I'm doing everything I need to do. And then that man, regardless of who he is and what he brings to the table, and I had to ask myself, and I had to process it, and I had to think through it, and I had to say, okay, what if he was 6'6" with an 8-pack and looked like he just stepped out of GQ magazine? Would I be okay with her being the team mom then? Like, I'm okay with it now just because this guy may not be her type. Height, weight, age may not be her type. But what if he was her exact type? What if he was every woman's type? Would I be okay with it? And then the answer is yes. I have to be able to trust her decision making, trust that she loves me, know that I love her, and do what it takes to let her know that I love her and that I'm the man of the relationship. Now, if it went deeper than just standing and talking about, players' credentials and standings before the game, if it went deeper than that to where you got to meet up in private and you got to work long, late hours and all of that, now you got a different situation. And some people are faced with that. And so I say that to say, in any relationship, whatever it is, if it's a blended family, if it's a compromising job, a job that puts you in compromising situations. I met several women who work around celebrity men, work around a celebrity, like a basketball team, NBA, NFL, or as a publicist working with all these famous men, and their boyfriend would always be insecure, would always be jealous, and they kept losing relationships because the man would be like, well, how am I to believe you're not attracted to these men or that you're not going to do anything with these men? And the woman's like, look, I'm all about you. Like, it's not like that. This is my job. That is what I do. I'm a professional. And the man's like, I don't want to hear that. Because the man knows what he would do if he was around a bunch of, women that he could be attracted to. So you have to think about these things and work through it, and that's where you went wrong. And so it's a lot of times when you make a mistake, instead of trying to go back and pick up the pieces and start over and make it work, instead of trying to do that, just pack it up, say, I tried, I did what I could do, it didn't work, let me move on. You gave it, sound like I believe, 9 years of marriage, and it's like, if you couldn't get it right in all that time, you have to really ask yourself, can you get it right? And as a woman, if you're not in love, women are normally the loving ones, the forgiving ones. So if you're not in love, I can almost guarantee he's not in love. So you're wasting a lot of time, in my opinion. So think on that. Question your heart. Think about how you're feeling, what you want, what it means to you, and stick to it. Hey, this is Tony Gaskins with Talks with Tony. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.